I'm just going to run through the basics that you need to understand before you start Final Cut Pro. The first thing you need is a camera, and get that camera connected to the mains. That's the mains plug, so when you're importing it doesn't run out of any power. The next thing we're going to need to do is connect the camera to the firewire cable, and if you just see inside, the firewire cable can be situated in lots of different places on the camera. So I'll show you 3 cameras here. This is the Panasonic, and you can see the DV firewire cable, 4-pin goes into there. And on the other cameras that we have here, like the Sony camera, it's in the side there. You just need to just start pulling a few things out and you'll find it eventually. It normally has a little DV label on it, so you know that that's where the firewire cable goes. So that goes in one side of into the camera, and then if you go around to the back of the computer, it depends what computer you're on. Obviously these are the Mac iMacs, and the 6-pin firewire there goes into the back of the computer, just at the back. So don't have a fiddle around, and you can see that the flat top goes at the top. So put that in. So once you've got that connected, you've got the power. You've got the power on. Then you need to open Final Cut Pro. So if we go to the hard drive here, which is in the top right hand corner, and then go to the applications folder, and then I'll just zoom in here. Scroll down your applications. You could do a search via the name and order it via name, but it will be under Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro here is part of a package of Final Cut Studio Pro, and that comes with DVD authoring software and audio software as well. So we're just going to concentrate with Final Cut Pro for now. So double click the Final Cut Pro icon, and you'll see it starts to open. Give it a moment while it does that. So you're going to come to your potentially first stumbling block, and that will be making sure that the camera that you've got is in sync with the project that you're doing. So the last person to use this computer was working with a HDV camera. We'll talk about HDV and HD cameras and things like that later on. We're just sticking with standard definition cameras at the moment. And again, you know, it can get quite tricky if we working with lots of different formats. So the first thing we need to do is tell Final Cut Pro what camera we're actually using and what standard, what video standard and what format. So we can click check again, but it won't do anything because it cannot find the HDV camera. So we just need to continue. And then we'll go into Final Cut Pro, and you'll see the projects from maybe someone else has been working on. Now this is really important because you don't want to start working on someone else's project, obviously. So you want to ensure that we close the previous projects because all the computers here are shared. So there's lots of people using these computers and getting projects going. So you need to be really methodical about this and make sure that you do this every time you come to the computer. You make sure you're working in your project, and that you've set the scratch disk, which we'll talk about in a minute. That's what points to your folder. So whenever you work on your project, whenever you import images or anything like that, it all goes into this one folder, which is your folder. Right, so let's get rid of this. So we'll close this project. So File, Close Project. Again, I'll just zoom into that quickly. So you can see that, File, Close Project. And then we're going to go to Final Cut Pro, and then go to what we're going to do. So we're going to do the easy setup. Let's do an easy setup. So we'll now say to the Final Cut Pro that we don't want HDV because we haven't got that. So we'll go to what we have got, which is a PAL. So it's a European standard format camera. Most cameras are here, unless you bought your own NTSC camera. And then we're going to say it's DV PAL. Anamorphic would mean that you've shot it in 16:9, which is the widescreen version. This is the standard 4:3 version, there you go. So your aspect ratio's set to 4:3, there you can see. And then click Setup. There you go, so that's set up. And now we need to create the project, our project. So we're going to go to File, New Project. So we've created the project, but we haven't saved it. So this is what, again, some people forget. So we're going to save the project. So we're going to go File, Save Project As. Now, where are we going to save it? What we're going to save it? We need to save it into a folder. So let's save it into Movies. I recommend that everyone here save your projects into the Movies folder. And make sure you generate a brand new folder with your name on. And create. And give it a name. Again, a distinctive name, because there's loads of little projects going on here. So it's good to be able to find your project if you need to, if for some reason it gets lost. So click Save. There you go. So our project's saved. Now, the most important thing, set your scratch disk. So when we come to do the next tutorial, when we import content, Final Cut Pro needs to know where that imported footage goes. And there's another good reason for also making everything go to one folder, that if you need to move this, or if you're working from an external hard drive, or you need to move the project to another computer or work at home or whatever, you can just take this one folder and it's all there. If you do not do this, your files will be saved all over the place. They'll be saved into someone else's folder. Okay, so again, I'll just zoom in for this one so you can see. So we're going to Final Cut Pro. And you've got all these different settings. So we did the easy setup. We're going to do system settings this time. Okay, so you can see here that you've got the top one with all these little blue ticks here. You've got video capture, audio, and video render. Okay, so these are the really important stuff. Video capture is what when you're importing the video, that's the video going in. And the rendering happens, again, we'll talk about that later on, about when to render and when you need to render. I'll just zoom this out for now. So we're going to click Set. At the moment it's saved to someone else's folder. We're going to click Set just on this top one. We're going to navigate to our folder. I'll go Date Modified, that's today. I'm going to choose my folder. There you go. This one directly below, just ignore. These three here, not so important as this top one. This bottom one, Auto Save Vault, is really important because Final Cut Pro will keep saving your project as you go, sort of backup if you like. And it's sometimes a good idea if you're working on a hard drive to maybe save the Auto Save Vault to another drive, maybe the computer drive. That way you've always got a backup if anything fails. So for this now, I'll just save the autosave to my folder, and just for good measure, I'll save the other two as well. Okay, so that's really good practice to keep doing that. Click OK. There we go, we're ready to go. So you're in Final Cut, your project's saved, and we're now ready to start importing our footage. So the interface here, I'll talk about that later on as well. You can manipulate the interface just by hovering over these sort of areas here and making things larger and smaller. If you go to Window, and you've got an arrange option here, so you might find that you actually just want to concentrate on the actual video that you've imported. So you could go to 2 up, and you get these lovely big screens here. I personally prefer to work in standard. Okay, so this area here is your main sort of browser area. This is where all your, if you're importing images, or if you're, when you do your video imports, this is where the raw files will go. And there's lots of information in here as well, stored in there. This is the viewer, so if you double click on the content in here, you can review the content here, and this is the canvas window, which reflects really what's going on in your timeline, which is down here in the edit, in the main edit area, and you've got a tools bar here. If anything of this, any of these are missing, you can go to Window and tick these here. So if I quickly get rid of this tool palette here, go to Window, you can see now that the tool palette is unchecked. If I click it again, it comes back. So yeah, we're all set to import, and we'll do that for the next video. Okay, thank you.